Honestly, insanity. You have to be insane to be a business owner in the first place.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Today in studio, I have the always fabulous Alexis Ader of Signs with Design. Alexis, it's awesome to have you here. Thanks so much for finally coming on.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
How long have I been bugging you to do this?
At least 9 months, if not a year.
Pretty much since before I even bought these cameras, pretty much, right?
Yeah, actually, that's very accurate. That's very accurate.
Well, I'm glad to finally have you. Why don't you take a second and introduce yourself to the audience? Tell them what you do, name of your business. We already got that part out of the way, but you can tell them again. They'll probably listen to you more than me anyway. So
Yeah, I would hope so. So my name is Alexis Ader. I'm the owner of Signs with Design. I started the business in 2000, February 1st of 2000. So you can do some quick math there, figure out how long I've had this business. I've been in the industry for over 30 years. We work with small to medium-sized businesses, and we make signage. So basically anything from just a simple banner to storefronts, lighted signs, channel letters, all of that in vehicles and so on and so forth.
Well, you're more than just a printer. You do more than just, create signs. You assist with branding and graphic design and all that other stuff, which I think kind of sets you apart from other people where you give them your creative and they produce the deliverables. You also do installation, which is something that not everybody does, right?
Very true. Very true. Yeah, I have a graphic design degree. I started the business before I actually graduated from college, but I have a full-time designer. She does some of the production, but I do most of the installations. And then I have some subcontractors also that do like the bigger jobs. So we can handle anything that pretty much any business could need.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's one of the things I was going to ask you about at first is how did you first get into it? What made you decide you wanted to be your own boss? What made you decide that entrepreneurship, I should say, was for you?
Well, I had worked for a few different sign shops and I had issues with all of them. A lot of it having to do with how they treated the customers. I had one shop that my boss constantly lied to our customers. And I'm an overly honest person, so I had an issue with that, especially when he would make me do the lying. And after working for these few shops, each one of them did a little bit of a different thing. I went from everything from cut vinyl to I actually painted billboards for a few years. And back when they were painted, because they're no longer painted, they're all printed now. But I needed to find a way to make a living, support my daughter. I was a single mom, and I just didn't feel comfortable or that I had a lot of room for advancement working for another shop. So I decided that, the timing was right, and I was 25 and I started my own shop because it was honestly had been a dream since I was about 21 that I thought I'm going to do this on my own. And the timing just worked out to do that.
What were those early days like?
Rough. So rough. 25-year-old, just an idiot. I made a joke recently talking to someone that I look back at some of the signs that I made 26 years ago, and they're awful. I mean, they're not awful. It's just in my current knowledge and opinion, they're awful. But I do in a month now what I did my first year plus. So the first year was very rough and I somehow made it through and I'm still here standing strong.
How'd you get those first few customers?
A few of them actually called the sign shop I had been working at and then asked for my phone number because they knew that I was the one that they'd been working with and liked working with. And they didn't want to work with that shop, so they wanted to work with me. So I got a few that way. Some of them, by the way, I still have. They still order signs from me all these years later. And the rest of them, I did a lot of cold calling, and I somehow was getting referrals, even though I didn't have a huge base of contacts at that point. It was big enough that they were giving me referrals to other businesses.
Well, that's awesome. And, it's awesome that you kind of knew that you wanted to go out on your own and you finally took the plunge and made it happen. And congratulations for sustaining it for over 25 years. That doesn't just happen. You got to learn a lot along the way, and nobody knows anything in the very beginning other than the fact that they want to do it. And so one of the things that I tell a lot of like young entrepreneurs when they talk to me is the one skill you got to have to be in a business like this is you must be able to sell. So at what point did you realize that you had sales ability and that you could make a go of this?
Oh, that's actually a funny question, because I would tell you right now, I don't think I'm a good salesperson. I make relationships. I build them. 80% of our customers are repeat. So we try to do a really good job for them. I don't feel like I'm selling them anything. I feel like they need something and I'm giving them something, a product that they need. So I don't necessarily, I know it's sales. I've read enough books, I've seen enough podcasts and motivational speakers to know that what I do is sales. Everybody in a business is technically a salesperson because you're representing that company. But sales to me is hard. It's something that you're constantly reaching out to people and, bugging them. And that's a hard business. For me, I feel like we're selling a product that people need. It's custom, but they need it. And they're coming to us because they trust us to make that product for a reasonable cost and do what is needed to be done.
Well, the truth is they're going to buy from somebody. If somebody needs what you have to sell, they're going to buy a sign from somebody, right? It might as well be you because you're going to take good care of them versus somebody else that's just going to cut corners and, be terrible communicators and all of the ways that you can be terrible in business. But if you can sell, and I've seen a lot of terrible operators, over the years, but they all have one common skill, and that's that they can sell. And if you can constantly sell, your customers to buy from you and sell people on the idea of working for your company, you'll pretty much always be in business, even if there's a high churn rate. So kind of doing a little bit of math that you don't want me to do. If you started your business at age 25 and you've been in business for 26 years, you certainly remember what life was like before the internet. So one of my favorite icebreakers is, what was your first experience with the internet? And don't say AOL because that's what everybody says.
AOL, the dial-up tone. Oh my goodness.
The CDs in the mail.
Oh, I remember all of those things. Of course I do. Honestly, to me, it just kind of all evolved from one thing into another without a whole lot of effort. Like we went from saving things on a floppy disk to a CD to, it's just one thing from another. I don't actually have a whole lot of recognition of it changing. It's more of just kind of where we started and where we are now. And where we are now is sometimes very stressful, but it's a game changer. We discussed earlier doing QR codes. Lots of people are putting QR codes on their signs and their vehicles because it's such an easy thing to do. Whereas when this first came about 12 years ago or so, it kind of went away for a while. People were doing it and then it went away. And now it's great. And I love it. And I love having access to it also as a consumer. So, we keep evolving. The internet's great. What I thought it was going to be at first, honestly, I don't think I had any ambition of where it was going to go. I just used it for what it was and made it accessible. I mean, it was great not to have to fax proofs over to customers anymore because that was kind of a pain. And then the customer didn't have a color fax machine, that made it so they were getting a black and white proof of their sign, which didn't work so great. But yeah, I want to say, what was that? Probably about 96, we were still doing that. And then we started merging into being able to actually email people files so they could see on the computer. And I love it. Personally. Do
you remember the first time you heard about the internet?
High school, I mean, we were doing MS-DOS in high school. Again, aging myself, yay. But yeah, we had to do type in all the codes so that we could turn the computer on. And then, there was the basic internet search, which compared to today was very inefficient.
Yeah. The early search was pretty terrible, and it was super slow. I remember, it was introduced to me, my senior year of high school. There was a class we could take. I never did any of the classwork. I just went in there and downloaded guitar tabs and printed them off and took them home. So that was worth the price of admission right there. So do you still do any cold calling now, or are you beyond that?
Honestly, I can't remember the last time I did a cold call. The closest thing I would say that we do now, and I don't do it often, would be if a really trusted referral source says, hey, I've got this person that I know them, but not very well, but I know that they're looking for something. Here's their name and phone number. I might follow up with them. But as far as just walking into a business and saying, yeah, I make signs, can you use me? We don't do that. I haven't done that in a really long time.
So you never driven by a business and seen their sun bleach sign and said, I'm going to call those guys up and, let them know how bad their sign sucks. And hey, I can fix that for you.
I think I should sometimes, but I don't.
Yeah, I'm the same way with websites. I get on a company site and it's terrible. And I think I should give these guys a call. I'm like they don't already know their website's terrible, right?
They probably don't, actually. And I can tell you that from my experience with businesses that I work with that have no web presence, but think they do. So when I go to search for their website, I can find it. It's awful. They paid for that, or they had, their sister-in-law do it, or whatever the situation is. And nowadays, that is what matters. Your web presence is so important. I don't understand. It doesn't cost that much. The investment that it takes to, hey, look, I'm plugging you. But the investment that it costs to put a website out there, to just have a few pages and have information about your company and how to contact you, doesn't cost a lot. You will get that money back so fast. Not having the web presence, to me, yes, referrals are still my number one base of getting new business. But I do know that people will double check. They hear about me. Maybe that's not quite enough. They're going to Google me. They're going to go to my website and look and see what kind of signs I do. So if I didn't have that website, I don't know that I would get all the customers that I do.
Well, you absolutely wouldn't. It's common knowledge that everybody, even if it is a referral, and almost all service-based businesses are referral-based. I'm sure you do get some cold messages from time to time from people who found your website in a search engine or whatever it happens to be. But it's almost always going to be referral based. And I encounter people that they either DIY'd their website and they're so proud of it. I ran into a guy a long time ago. He actually runs a relatively famous business around here, so I'm not going to mention him by name, but he built his own website and all of the fonts were in Comic Sans. I shit you not. And he was so proud of this website, and he was comparing it to this national competitor of his, and he's like, he was just ended up being such a huge narcissist. I couldn't tell him anything. And what he wanted, he didn't hire me. He hired me for an assessment. And I give him an honest assessment. It was I give him my normal 10, 15 page document with all of my research and our logic behind all of our recommendations. And he wanted to line item pick every one of them apart because I realized this after the fact, he didn't hire us for a true assessment. He didn't hire us to help his business. It was really just me. I was just consulting on the project. He hired me because he wanted validation from me. He wanted me to validate that he'd built this good website, and it was just atrocious in every way that a website can be atrocious. Have you ever engaged in any paid ads in terms of client acquisition, or has it always been organic?
I have done a few things over the years. 26 years, I've had lots of opportunities. I would say that none of them have worked. I did one that was a B2B sort of website magazine thing. And I think I got 2 clicks on my ad. And they were kind of proud of that I got 2 clicks. And at those 2 clicks turned into nothing. So that was a complete waste of money. We sponsor some events, which honestly do that for name recognition and just to sponsor the event. I tell my clients on a regular basis when they want their website and their phone number and all that stuff on those signs, it's for name recognition and to participate in your community. The chances of someone calling you from your sign on the baseball field is not very likely.
Right.
But we do those things to support the community. But I've also done a few other things, and honestly, I'm having a hard time recollecting what those are. But I have learned from the 3-4 things that I've done over the 26 years that they weren't worth it. So the referral base, I do a ton of networking. I'm in a lot of networking groups, always have been.
Like what?
It's like a cuss word, but I was in a B&I group.
Oh, you're not anymore?
I am not. We dismantled our B&I group.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not going to go any farther with that. I don't want to get us in trouble. But I'm also part of the Rockford Chamber. I just, Women of Habitat, we have a great group of women. That's also kind of one of my new causes. So I do a lot of stuff with them. I try to do most of the builds, all of our networking events. We do a lot of stuff. And honestly, I've gotten a lot of work from that. We try to support each other, which is great. There are certain businesses that I think benefit from marketing, from advertising in their local publication, maybe doing online advertising, that kind of thing. Even Facebook stuff, I honestly haven't tried any of it. And some of our stuff might work well with like promotions. I haven't tried it. I've thought about it. I see the amount of clicks that I get on our, whatever we're calling them, ads or whatever I'm doing through my Facebook stuff. I don't see a lot of results from that. To me, and maybe I'm old school, but I really do think the face-to-face networking, getting to know people, building the relationships is what brings in the business, because the people learn to trust you. Mm-hmm. They just they don't even question what the price is sometimes, which is astounding to me, but that's probably because I question the price all the time. But I'm glad that I can build those relationships with people where they feel confident enough just to use me. They're not worried about what the cost is so much. They just know that I'm going to do a good job for them. So yeah, it's old school, but the face-to-face and relationship building, I don't think that I could recommend that anymore to newer businesses.
Well, price is secondary to business owners to getting it done right the first time. I would much rather write a slightly larger check to somebody like you than somebody who's trying to undercut the competition just to get the job. Just because I don't have time to dick around with it not being right the first time, or dealing with somebody who's a bad communicator, or whatever it happens to be. I need it done so I always say the goal of all business owners is to solve every problem just by writing a check. Because money's a renewable resource, but time is not. And the last thing you want to do is, deal with the headaches of dealing with somebody who's incompetent just to save a few bucks, And so I'm glad that you've, fallen into that category and that you have a good, stable, business, a book of business that trusts you, so that you don't have to do cold calling or call people with crappy signs, out by the road. They haven't changed it since 1975. So.
Yeah, me too. I'm very grateful for that. So yeah, I tell people quite honestly, like, you can go online and order your stuff. Those people are going to print your artwork. And if it doesn't look good, they're going to charge you for it, print it, ship it to you, and then you're going to have to go somewhere else and have it redone. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. So maybe they're a little bit cheaper, but I'm going to look at what you sent me and I'm going to tell you, we can't print this. It's not going to look good. The quality's not there. Let's either find some clip art or send me a better photo if you can. And I think that's what earns that trust. People know I'm going to give them a good product.
Anytime you're honest with people, it goes a long way. One of the things that I always tell clients and prospective clients is that we only take on people that we know we can help. And there are a lot of boxes that we have to be able to check in order for somebody to become a MoxieMen client, just because it's not a cheap service for one, and it doesn't produce results overnight. It takes a while to get traction in the search engines, and people have to be willing to be patient with that process, and they also have to be willing to participate in that process. And if they're not willing to do that, or they just simply don't have the ability to do that, then they're just not a good fit. And in my experience, and it's actually one of the things I talked to Rebecca Dutcher about last year. Do you know Rebecca by any chance?
No.
She runs Red 66 Marketing. She's a local agency, woman-owned. She likes dealing with women. She swears a lot, too, so you'd probably like her.
Probably.
One of the things I was talking to her about on the podcast when she was on last year was never take on clients just because you need the money. Because a lot of agencies kind of fall into that trap. They get to a point where they've got to make payroll and they've got a big office to pay for, and they need revenue. And something comes down the pipeline and they're willing to pay. It may not be the best fit for what they have to offer, but they take them on anyway because they need the money. And so, and that never ends well for either side. And I see it a lot. I kind of see it a lot with agencies that, they start to get 8, 10, 12 employees, and somebody comes along and they're going to pay $50,000 for whatever it happens to be. Yeah, they take it on, regardless of how good of a fit it is. And it's sad, but that's just kind of the nature of it. That's kind of why MoxieMen is structured the way it is, so that, we don't have to do anything we don't want to do. And I don't want to deal with shitty people anyway. And so that's a big part of it too. So we can be selective, and sounds like you're in the same boat. So going back to the Facebook ads, it's not surprising to hear that you haven't had a lot of success with that. So my theory is that people don't get on Facebook to look for a sign company or a windows company or whatever it happens to be. They get on Facebook to waste time. So they're scrolling through videos. They either want to be entertained by a cat video or they want to argue politics with strangers. So that's kind of the difference between like search engine marketing and social media marketing. Search engine marketing, you're really just trying to cast as wide of a net as you can to take advantage of that natural demand. If somebody's typing in, sign manufacturer near me, that's somebody with with a immediate need for your service. They're not getting on social media for that purpose. Social media marketing is almost like manufacturing demand for your service for people that aren't naturally there for that purpose. You know what I mean? It's like putting a barbershop inside of a Walmart. If somebody happens to need a haircut, they may stop in for a haircut, but they're not going to Walmart for a haircut. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I agree with that. That makes sense. Never heard it quite put that way. It was very good.
Oh, well, thank you. I've had lots of practice.
Right. I'm interview number what? I was curious.
Probably 14 or 15.
Okay.
Did you see who I had on last week?
No.
Steve Wiltz was on last week.
Oh.
Do you know who he is?
No.
Oh, okay.
I should. I feel
you perked up
like I know the name. That's why.
He shoots funny little skits with his wife. He'll basically walk in, she'll be minding her own business, and he'll walk in with his camera and drop a dirty joke, and she'll roll her eyes or say, "Oh my God," one of those, which is the desired effect. I'm sure Dave does the same thing.
No, never.
He's a content creator with 3.5 million followers. And so he came on. I found out not too long ago that he was local, so I just shot him an email, and he got back with me, and he ended up coming on, and we had a good conversation just about a variety of different topics.
So I thought about this on the way here, that you and I actually know each other pretty well. The fact that I am putting a lot of trust in you to be filming me, and Mike has a tendency in our relationship to bring out the worst in me. So I really didn't know what to expect from this, because there have been nights when we're playing poker where one of us has ended up really angry at the other one by the end of the night. And it has happened both directions. But I will also say with that trust is that there have been nights where people are giving Mike a really, really hard time. And I have stepped in and said, because I know you so well, to drop it, leave him alone. He's not in the mood for this right now. Because occasionally I wonder if you're going to go a little postal on all of us. You do own a lot of guns.
I'm not sure how to respond to any of that because I've never noticed anybody giving me a hard time at the poker table that was anything outside of the norm. I welcome the banter. If I'm going to sling it out there, I got to be able to take it. So, yeah, yeah.
No, these are nights where you're not bantering. You're being very quiet, and people have decided that they still want to pick on you. So
I'm fine with that. I just choose not to respond and just let them assume the worst. It's part of my mystique.
Yes, mystique.
You should try it sometime.
Anybody who's been in business for as long as I have should understand burnout. I have customers that have been in business for like 6-7 years who are in burnout. And I just kind of go, well, come talk to me in 20 plus years.
So what's that like? Let's shift to a serious topic for a minute. So you probably experienced burnout on multiple occasions. What triggers it, and what do you do to get through it? Because you're obviously still going strong. I think your business is probably as strong as it's ever been, right?
Probably close. Honestly, insanity. You have to be insane to be a business owner in the first place.
100%.
Yes, a sane person does not do this. The influx of income, the instability, all the things that come attached to owning a business. If you're one of those lucky people that's actually making a profit in your first year, congratulations. But most of us can't say that. It took a while for us to get to a point where we could pay ourselves a regular salary and feel comfortable with our lifestyle and not be paranoid about money on a regular basis. The burnout factor for me tends to actually come along more when I'm slow. I don't have the drive. I don't have the ambition because there's just not a lot to do. And I don't have things to keep my mind busy. And I'm saying this now because I couldn't have told you this probably 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I would have just told you I'm burnt out because I don't like doing this anymore. I've been doing it for too long. It's not fun anymore. But I've kind of realized that what happens with the burnout when I get a little bit excited about the business again is when I either make some sort of change, like I move locations or I hire somebody or I find a new product I can sell and we get busy. And then all of a sudden the burnout just kind of goes away. So a lot of times I will also say, with all these years behind me, is I've done other things. I do little things to distract myself. I go and I get a real estate license or I go through yoga training. I do things to distract myself a little bit. And the one piece of advice that I'm going to say, and I know there's a lot of multitaskers out there, every single time I have distracted myself from my business by doing something else on the side, like selling real estate, or I think I might have sold jewelry for a while. I joined Amway for a short bit, took my business depleted. I was spending the exact amount of time on the business that I always did, and in my mind, putting the same amount of energy into it. But I can tell you by looking at my numbers that the sales decreased. Putting your energy into your business 100% is what you need to get to a point where you're successful and stable. So taking that time away from the business and that energy, however you want to look at that, I know everybody's got different belief systems, but that energy that I was taking away, the attention that I was taking away from my business, hurt it. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because right now I can say it's great, but it's because I made it through a hurdle. Not everybody's in the position to be able to do that. So that's one of my big pieces of advice to people who are starting a new business, is to stay focused and be 100% devoted and into that business, and everything you have, just dive in and don't get distracted, because those distractions will hurt the business. When you think it's on an uprise and you get distracted, all of a sudden it's decreasing.
That's great advice. And I've fallen into that trap too, with MoxieMen, and just different areas, not so much starting other types of businesses, but like going into different types of services. Because I used to try to be all things to all people. And regardless of what they asked for, I would try to find a way to make that happen. And it almost always, not only did that fail, but it also hurt my core business. And so it took me probably 5 years to ultimately learn that lesson, to a point where I just started saying no to everything that wasn't like completely 100% in our wheelhouse. And that limited the number of opportunities that we had. But when we found somebody that was a great fit, our clients stick with us on average of 7 years. And those are on monthly retainers. And so when we find somebody, because once a client sees it work, something magical happens. They want to continue to invest in it. And all of our clients come to us, and I'm sure you're probably in a similar experience, that all of our clients come to us off of a poor experience with another service provider. So once they see that we're legit and we can produce results, that we do the things we say we're going to do, and everything that kind of we need to be, they typically aren't going to look elsewhere as long as we continue to do well. Having said that, I don't take it for granted. I know that we are as consultants only as good as our last performance. And we have to keep up a high level of service just to survive. And so that's kind of the foundation that MoxieMen is built on. But yeah, it took a lot of years to kind of figure out that you got to say no to a lot of shit to, get to where you want to be. So, speaking of, clients, and, some of my favorite conversations with you off camera, have to do with customers that are, let's say, difficult. So would you care to share a story or two?
Oh, goodness. There's so many. So I actually very recently had a client who, within all of the email conversations, said to me, "I've never had a sign shop not send me a proof before making my signs." Which then my response was, "We sent you a proof on this date, which you then approved on this date."
Okay.
So there's little stuff like that, I'm sure. And also, this client has been a problem child. He has now done 3 huge errors as far as communicating with us, with not giving us correct information. Has yet to apologize or acknowledge that any of the issues have been his fault. We're still trying to make him happy, and we're still trying to get the job complete, but I will not work with him again. So that's that. I'm going to try to make the job as done as it can be. Let's see. We send proofs, and I would say there's probably been 5 times over the last 26 years where something was wrong, a phone number, a website. The customer then emails us and says, "This is wrong," after we've made the sign. So that is the wrong time to catch that we had the wrong phone number on it. That is a problem. We send proofs for that reason, particularly. Another reason maybe people take advantage of using a local company. They're like, "Well, you screwed this up." It's like, "Well, you approved it." So that's been an issue a few times over the years. Luckily, not very often. Mm-hmm. It could happen more often, but if somebody sends you proof, please make sure that all the information is correct and all the words are spelled correctly, because If we're just copying, pasting what you sent us, we don't know that your phone number is not right.
Well, once they approve it,
Right.
because I assume that you don't do anything until something's approved.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
once they've approved it, you have every reasonable right to assume that they've looked it over.
We do.
And so, yeah, that's totally on them. And it's unfortunate that you have to deal with unreasonable people. But what you just spoke to is something I like to talk about a lot, is that's a mindset of abundance. There's an abundance of people that need your services, and you only need really a handful of them to do well in business. And so people that are difficult, or just, for all of the reasons, some people are, not intentionally difficult, and some people are just not very good at running their businesses, and they think that, it's as the service provider, it's your job to accommodate them 100% of the time. And it's a relationship, and relationships work best when there's a healthy amount of give and take. And people that don't have a fundamental understanding of that, they're just people that aren't worth working with.
Agreed.
No matter how much they're paying you.
Agreed. Completely agree.
Okay. Got any other stories that are more entertaining than the last one?
Oh, jeez. Thanks, Mike. I mean, outside of, trying to fire someone, I was literally on the phone with someone and she was being just rude. And I finally was like, you know what? And she goes, let me interrupt you. I don't think we need your services anymore. I was like, what? And I just started laughing. Because I was going to fire her, and she interrupted me and told me that they didn't want to use me. And I just started laughing, and I wished her good luck, and I hung up on her.
Yeah, that works.
So,
well,
yeah.
I saw your reviews, and you have 27 5-star reviews on Google.
Oh, do I?
Yeah. So you must not be upsetting people too much that they're not leaving negative reviews.
Well, that's good. That's good. I actually had to do 2 presentations last week at different networking groups. And one of the things, oh my goodness, you don't have any wood around here. One of the things that I said was 26 years in business, and we have never been sued. And I can't tell you that for most sign shops, that's not something that they can say.
What would somebody sue you for?
If there's, sign falls down, seriously, where's the wood? There's just different things. Having someone say that we didn't do what we charged them for. So say somebody pays us, but then they say we didn't do the job that they paid us for, which generally we get paid after, but we do occasionally get paid before. They could then say, well, I want my money back. And I could say, well, I did the job you requested. They could try to take us to court. So my former employer got sued many, many, many times. He filed bankruptcy many times. And he had been sued because he was doing jobs for a bigger company and basically had kind of just almost like you do. Like, you give us money every month and we do these projects for you and we just kind of keep a balance flowing back and forth. Well, he wasn't doing them. He wasn't actually following through at this end. So in other situations, I don't know. I don't want to know, honestly. I like having good relationships with my clients, and the clients that I'm not meant to work with, I try to end things with them in a good situation and just say, this isn't working. Most people handle it pretty well. I have had quite a few that have not handled it well, where I've gotten like an email that was 5 paragraphs long about how unprofessional I was. That one was fun. Again, what do? People don't like being fired. They don't want to acknowledge that maybe they're the problem. Mm-hmm. I don't think that everyone is fit to work with each other. I catch that you also agree with that.
100%.
We're not always a good fit. Because I've been in this industry so long, and it is a male-dominated industry, at least as far as the production and installation end goes. There's not a whole lot of sign shops owned by women. As far as I know, there's only one other one in West Michigan. Things have changed a lot, but over the years, I have had a lot of comments made to me about, oh, you actually make the signs? Uh, what's your other job? I've had some interesting comments made to me when somebody walks into my shop that has $100,000 worth of equipment sitting in it that have just really boggled my mind. Honestly, I can say that I haven't had any of that happen recently. It's great. So I'm hoping that we're evolving and that we're realizing that we don't need to put people in categories as to what they are able or not able to do.
Yeah, well, like it's one of my favorite things to put in the poker email blast that girls can play poker too. I know that has to get under somebody's skin. So
Nope, not mine. Not mine, because I know you're being funny, but I will tell you that in the poker world, I know that that's true.
oh yeah.
Yeah. There have been many times I've sat down at a poker table and the guys either look at me like I'm a piece of meat to like drool over, or they don't understand why I'm there. So,
Well, you can use that to your advantage. I talked to Levon about that, when she was on last year, and you can use that to your advantage as a woman at the poker. I don't have that. I don't have that luxury.
I don't see either of us knowing her the way that I do. Neither of us are the personality type that would do that. I don't know. We're just like, we're here, we're people, accept us, whatever. Get over yourself.
Well, she's good at playing the damsel in distress card.
Oh, that's true. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm more of a, opportunity to cuss. I'm more of a go fuck yourself kind of person.
Hey, there it is. Yeah, I knew you would find one sooner or later.
Yeah.
So, any parallels between playing poker and running a business?
Not really. Because in business, I'm really just kind of straightforward and it is what it is. Poker, I have to actually kind of lie a little bit and put on a persona that's not necessarily 100% authentic. And when it comes to the business, some people probably think, unfortunately, overly authentic. But poker depends on what the mood I'm in when I get there. If I'm in a bad mood, a good mood, or happy, and I just want to be there and play. I thought about this earlier because I saw the question, and I thought, are there any parallels? And the only thing that I could say that poker has possibly taught me as far as business goes is a little bit of patience. Because I tend to be let's just go, let's just get this done. And you can't do that in poker. In poker, you got to sit there and you have to be patient. And I realize that not everyone moves at the same speed that I do. And so I needed to take that a little bit into the business as well and have a little bit more grace and patience with clients as far as communication goes and what I expect from them, having a little bit more leniency.
I think there are a couple of parallels with poker, not to try to contradict your point. But one of the things that I think that poker and running a business have in common is in business, you have to make decisions based on incomplete information. And you have to kind of piece together just almost through conjecture, given situations or, different investments that you make. Like when you hire a person, you don't really know how they're going to work out. You try to assess their ability and their professionalism and everything that's important. But there is a practical limit to how much information you can gather before making a decision. And I've seen people, stay in the information gathering stage for way too long. Just when it comes to making decisions based on incomplete information, if you stay in information gathering for too long, there will never be any movement. Like people always want to, make perfect decisions when it comes to really any type of investment. When you're running a business, every dollar out needs to be an investment, which is why everybody loves paying taxes, right? So,
Absolutely.
So, but I think, when it comes to, reading people, and there's a lot of sales in poker if you think about it, because a lot of times you got to kind of manipulate your opponents into thinking what you want them to think. And as a woman at the poker table, you have an advantage because if people think If people are underestimating you, like Levon talked about this, if somebody's underestimating you, let them. Milk that for as long. You don't want them thinking that you're competent. Business is a little bit different. You want people thinking you're competent, but by virtue of having been in business for X amount of years, doesn't have to be 2.5 decades. You're going to have some baked in credibility as soon as, you walk into a room. How close have you ever been to closing up shop and going out and getting a job?
So close.
Yeah. Was it an opportunity that was presented to you, or?
It was another sign shop. Wanted to buy my business. Mostly the owner told me he wanted me, but he also wanted my clients. After a couple months of debating on numbers, his numbers kept getting lower. And it was actually my husband who told me to stop talking to him because he said he's disrespecting you and the business that you've built. So I did. I stopped talking to him. That would be my ideal if someone wants to come in and offer me some money and take over the business for me and just have me on as a salesperson and pay me a reasonable income. I would be more than happy to do that. Get rid of, the stress and dealing with everything.
Why not just hire somebody to run it then?
Can't afford to pay somebody to do that.
You could make them an equity partner.
I've had lots of people give me different ideas and none of them work. I've had companies talk to me about buying me that don't know anything about the industry. And the problem with that is then I would have to teach them everything about it, which if I was going to do that, why would I not just do that on my own? It's got to be the right fit. But I do have to say that I get a little jealous when I hear of one of my friends' businesses getting, bought out by a bigger company. And I'm like, oh, but I never asked numbers either. And that's one thing for when I was younger, I would, somebody would say, oh, I used to own a business, but I sold it. I never hear those numbers. And that would be one thing that I'd be really curious about because I have a friend who just sold his business for like $20,000. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't see this now. He's going to know I'm talking about him. But yeah, it's great because then you can go ahead and say, I sold my business. You don't have to tell anybody how much you sold it for. You get to have the kudos of, I had a business, I sold it, it had value. That's awesome. I would love that. But I'm also not going to give away 26 years of hard work for pennies. So you just got to find that happy medium. Mm-hmm. Like what's the right fit, what's the right move, and listen to your instincts. But at this point in time, I have lots of interests. I have lots of skills. I'm not really sure what I would want to do, even if I didn't have the business anymore. So there's that. Like, well, what do we do? That's great. We don't have the business anymore.
Do you think your business is built into your identity?
No.
No?
I don't. I think other people do.
I definitely do.
You definitely do? And mine or yours?
Mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, no, I know that I am a whole person without the business. The business is just part of my story. It's part of how I got where I am. But without the business, I'm still me. So, and you should feel the same way too, because you are definitely a unique human being without your business.
Yeah, I know the business isn't all me. In fact, people know me and don't even know what I do for a living. Mm-hmm. But I had actually a similar situation happen about 5 years ago. A local agency, they wanted to acquire our capabilities and our book of business. And so it never really got past the talking stage. No offer was ever made. And I don't know how serious they were. It wasn't the owner that reached out. It was one of his lieutenants. And so it was a guy that I kind of already had a little bit of a relationship with. And it never went anywhere. And that guy ended up leaving the company and it never went past that. And I never gave it very strong consideration. But it is nice to know that you're wanted, that somebody sees value in adding you to their operation, in whatever capacity. There's a lot of boxes that would have to be checked in order for me to go to work for somebody else.
Yes.
The biggest thing is they would have to pay me a ridiculous salary that I'm not actually worth. So If somebody
great.
wants to fling a mid 6-figure salary my way just to acquire
Me
my book
too.
of business,
Sign me up.
I might not say no to that. And the thing is, I've got too many clients relying on this to exist. And we got team members relying on this for income. So to just shut it down would be irresponsible and kind of selfish.
Yep.
So I'd have to have a really good reason. But
I feel the same way. Which was one of the things about when I was actually attempting to sell the business was I wanted to make sure my clients were taken care of. And, the broker was sending me companies. There were companies that were interested, and I'm like, no, they don't have the capability of taking care of my clients. Or they're going to completely raise all their prices. And it's not that I'm not charging them enough. It's that I know what some of the other companies are charging, and they're charging more than they need to. So if somebody's used to paying, say, $500-$600 to get one of their trucks lettered up, and this company buys me, and now it's costing them $1,200 a truck. Well, now all of a sudden they're gonna leave. Number one, they're gonna go find another shop because I'm not there, and they don't have any loyalty to this new company. But also, it's not fair, and then they're not getting the same service, and they're not getting what they're used to. So there's some level where you have to go, this isn't okay. I have to be okay with it just being what it is. But I also want to be able to sleep at night and not feel like I've deserted these people who have been loyal to me for some for 10, some for 20, some for more than 20 years, that they've always come back to me. I don't know. I feel a little bit of obligation to them, like you said.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way, especially with the clients that have been with us for so long. And there are a lot of agencies that charge way more in their monthly retainers than we do. I like to think that, there's nobody out there charging less than us that's as good as we are. There are bigger agencies out there with higher retainers, and they have more resources, because, our sweet spots is companies like in that, between 1 and 10 million. And we have a couple of clients that are larger than that, but they don't have a dedicated marketing
or smaller.
department.
Me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, but most of them, they need us, because if we go away, they're going to be back to square one. And like you just said, if somebody were to acquire MoxieMen, the first thing they're going to do is raise prices. And the clients that stick around, hey, great. And the clients that go away because they can't afford it anymore, well, that's just the nature of doing business. And so, and I get it. I understand, especially if you pay for an asset, you need to extract as much cash from it as you can. It makes perfect sense, but it's just not something, especially at my age at this point, I'm not really in a position where I want to abandon all of this. I'm like, what would I do? Become a
You do know at some point you will have to abandon it. I mean, right? Retirement. I'm looking at your wife. Retirement. I mean, someday maybe, or does she not want you around? I don't. He's around. He's around enough, apparently.
I'm around way too much.
But no, we do have to think about that. I mean, obviously neither of us is going to get to retire anytime real soon. I am older than you, but it's something to think about. What happens to the business when I am to the point where I want to do whatever and not be working.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever get there. I'm certainly not thinking about it right now. I don't know if I would have to find something else to do. I'd start another business, or find some other way to provide value. Or
you do know you're going to die someday, right? What happens to the business then? No, I mean this conversation is going to get really morbid. No, but seriously, I mean, unless one of your boys is going to take over,
maybe one of them will. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know what the future holds. It's just kind of. I don't think about it a lot right now.
Right.
In terms of a succession plan. It would be. I guess maybe I should start thinking about that. But at this point, the idea of. I've never really understood the concept of retirement from a standpoint of doing a job that you don't want to do for as long as you have to, until you have enough runway that you don't have to do that anymore. And then you just ride your last handful of years off into the sunset. That's never been me. I actually like what I do, and I like being Moxie Mike. So, and so, like I say, it's kind of baked into my personality and my identity at this point. So, but at some point, I'll probably have to transition into something else, especially with AI and what it's doing in the marketing world. A lot of agencies are going to go away. I don't know how much you use AI in your world.
Not really.
It's going to become part of your world, whether you realize
it or not. Like it or not would be the correct phrase there.
Well, I strongly encourage you to, be an early adopter, because the early adopters are going to thrive, just like with the internet. And the ones that ignore it and kind of keep doing things the way they've always done it, because that's the way they've always done it and it still works, they're going to get left behind. Because it's going to create so many efficiencies. Somebody's going to come along and they're going to be able to offer 5 times as much value for the same money. And that's what's happening in my world right now. And a lot of agencies, they're going to go away, especially the shitty ones, the ones that, don't really have a demonstrable track record of success. Mm-hmm. They're going to go away because a better mousetrap has been built, and it's only a matter of time before that gets deployed. Well, these are amazing times we're living in, between AR and VR and, cryptocurrencies and, AI. There's so many amazing technologies kind of converging all at once. And, I was telling my sons this, like, I am very fortunate, to have come of age in many different technological revolutions. You too, we remember what life was like before the internet. That was the first technological revolution. But then 10, 12 years after that became prolific, the smartphone came along, and now here we are. Like, most generations get like one, major technological shift. We're in like the midst of our third, and we're not even middle-aged yet, depending on who you ask. So
I'm definitely middle-aged.
Middle-age starts at 52. So.
Oh, okay. I'm not then.
Yeah.
55? Okay.
30. Oh, no, it's not 35.
All right. Right. That was what I was thinking. Anyway, whatever. I could live to be 102. That'd be fine.
You probably will.
I don't know.
The stubborn ones always do.
True.
So I will. We'll wrap this up. I will give you the last word. Thank you so much, Alexis Ader, for coming on.
Again, my name is Alexis Ader. I am the owner of Signs with Design. The best way to find us is through our website, which MoxieMen did do. So that is signswithdesign.net. Signs, plural, with design.net. Go there. You can see some of our portfolio, link to our Facebook page, and there's a contact form and our phone number and our website. So whatever you want, any form of communication would be great. Appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks, Mike.
Awesome to have you. Hey, thanks so much for checking out my video. I really appreciate it. Hey, could you do me a favor and take a second and just leave a comment and let me know what you thought of today's episode. And if there's a topic you'd like to see covered on a future video, or if there's a guest that you think I should maybe try to interview, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much. And hey, as a token of my appreciation, enjoy these outtakes from today's episode. Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Today in studio, I have the always fabulous, always vulgar Alexis Ader here. Alexis, what's going on? Welcome.
Oh my goodness, not much. Just had a busy day, running late, finally got here so I could spend some quality time with Mike.
Well, thanks so much for being here. I feel honored. All right, go ahead and stop it.
Right, where's my makeup artist?
This one shouldn't need any. What's up?
Okay.
Bra strap?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Edit moment. Okay.
We just became PG-13 here on the MoxieMen Podcast.
Well, that's not what I thought we were going to do, but okay. Our producer is having some issues.
You can say fuck too if you want.
Ooh. Oh my God, the outtakes are going to be hilarious.
We're going to have about 15 minutes of them. It's just going to be one long continuous. It's going to be us saying
Lost in
something
again.
and then us looking in this direction. Up.
Which looks like I'm looking the other. Anyway,
She's already got about 24 edits already marked down on her little sheet there, including this one.
my goal is to set a record. I don't know what the record would be. I don't think it's cuss. I don't think I can do it with cussing because apparently my cuss monitor is on.
Say whatever you want.
Or more whiskey. I don't know.
You can pause and go refill your glass if you'd like to.
I'm good. Thank
I'm
you.
just going to keep recording because I want to keep all of it.
You do have final editing of it.
I edit.
Okay. Shit. Hey, that was my first one. Dave had me buy him eye cream. I was actually using it. I don't know.
I couldn't tell the difference when I saw him the other day. You can tell him I said that.
I don't. You start using this shit when you're almost 60 years old. I think it's too late. Anyway. No, something to the effect of I was thinking, well, if I share this on my Facebook, I'm going to be like, trust me, Mike and I are good friends. Like,
His wife is right there.
his wife is sitting right next to us. Oh,
This is why we should have her mic'd up too.
No, he's been trying to do that. And I'm like, no.